Hi friends, welcome back, or if you're new here, welcome to my channel. I'm Kenzie, and today I'll be reading some ghost stories from Reddit. This story comes from user BrotherSmart176. Disappearing man seen again. I had recently asked my grandfather if he had any ghost stories, or stories of the like. One he told me was exceptionally creepy, at least to his standards. My papa was a painter, and one of the guys he worked with, who was certainly not the type at all to lie or anything, had told him and the other painters this once and then never again. The guy in question, Jim, was cycling home one night during the winter from his work. Jim lived in a very rural location, which was only 30 minutes or so on a bike away from the town they all worked. His house was at the end of a 1 kilometer or so long road leading up to his house and his house only. This road has a dry stone dike at either aid running parallel all the way up. When cycling, it had gotten pretty dark, but light enough still to be able to see the house that sat up ahead. While cycling up the road, he could see somebody walking towards him. He was confused as it was only really him that lived there at the time, and nobody lived nearby to be visiting. This man fast approached, and just as Jim got near, the man looked at him and walked straight through the dry stone dike at the side of the road. Jim began to understandably pedal like hell to get to his house. Jim had then went to the police station, and the guy he had seen matched the description perfectly of a man who had completely disappeared from that house 50 years prior and had never been found. Certainly creepy and validated more so by Jim's no-nonsense nature. In those days, you wouldn't exactly tell stories like that to tradesmen. These are stories that, in the 50s, could potentially make you look like some sort of crazy person. This next story comes from user ramen___noodles. Spirit in my house pretending to be a little girl. Kinda new to Reddit, but wanted to share a few stories about what I believe is a bad spirit pretending to be a little girl that once haunted my house. The first ever encounter I had with this spirit was in my living room. It was late at night, around 1 a.m., and I was sleeping on the couch. I had just painted my room, so my mom didn't want me to sleep and breathe in all the paint fumes. I was just about to head to sleep when something extremely scary happened. I took my glasses off, making everything really blurry, and I turned to face towards the back of the couch. I closed my eyes, and directly behind me I hear, "Maddie," which is my name, in a little girl's voice being whispered clear as day. Keep in mind, I have 2 younger sisters and a little cousin that I lived with. I turn around, not being able to really see, and say, "Yes," thinking one of my sisters was right there trying to talk to me. To my surprise, no one was there. I quickly put my glasses on and once again said, "Yes, hello," and no one's there. I was really scared and hid under my blanket and grabbed my phone and soon realized something even weirder happened. My sister, who is the heaviest sleeper I know, texted me the exact same time I heard the voice. I still have the message on my phone from her that reads, "Are you awake?" I answer it with my hands shaking and typed, "Was that you?" And she goes, "What?" And I realize it wasn't her and tell her to quickly come downstairs to the living room. She meets me down on the couch and turns on the light. I tell her everything that happened and I begin to wonder why she was even up, so I asked and she gave me a chilling response. She said, "I'm not sure, but I got woken up by something and got this weird feeling that something was wrong, so I decided to text you." I asked if me talking woke her up and she said no. That part really freaked me out. After that, several things happened involving this spirit. Everyone in my house has had encounters with her, even my mom, who doesn't believe in anything. One time my grandma, who I also live with, told me that around 3-4ish in the morning, she got woken up by my little cousin, who was maybe 7 at the time, was talking to herself and laughing. My grandma said she asked her why she was laughing and talking. My cousin said she was playing with her friend Rosie. We found out that my cousin was communicating with the spirit. Another time, my grandma had woken up really late at night to the sound of my TV blasting church/biblical music in my room. What's crazy is 1, I wasn't even home, I was at a sleepover. 2, I never watch TV ever, so there's no way my TV would be on and at volume 100. 3, my door is always shut because I have a pet bird, so there's no way the dogs or cat could jumped on the remote. 4, I would never have my TV on a church music channel. My grandma said she thought she was dead because of the music. I have so many more stories, but these are a few of the crazy ones. I don't get good vibes from this spirit, which is why I think it's a bad spirit in disguise as a little girl. This next story comes from user Mr. Dreamcaster. My first experience. So typically, when I hear the word ghosts or anything related to paranormal, I immediately tend to think about a close encounter of mine that happened when I was a young boy. I don't fully remember how old I was, nor exactly where in America it took place, but I can still vividly remember the key details that have made me believe in the paranormal itself. I very clearly remember the family and I were going out to eat for dinner, so this event quite possibly happened around 5 to 7 o'clock in the evening. Back then, we rarely had time to go out to the restaurant to eat, so the thought of going out for food excited me enough to get ready as fast as possible. Thus, I was the first and only one ready to go, waiting right beside the front door, impatiently waiting for the rest of my family to get ready. Now, to make this story more understandable, I believe it is important that you understand the basic layout of the front of the house so that you can better visualize the scene. I myself was at the front door, however, I was looking in the general area of the stairs. The front door was to my left, and behind me was a wall that led to the other part of the house. However, from my perspective, it went about 3 yards angling acutely to the left, then opened up to the living room. In front of me were a staircase that had a slight curve to it, and directly under the top of the staircase was a bathroom that had 2 separate rooms, one for the toilet and another for the sink. To the left of the front door was a wall that had a big window that looked out to the front yard. Now that the boring stuff is done, we can move along to the good part. I had maybe waited there next to the door for around 5 minutes or longer when a sound interrupted my thoughts. At first I was merely confused and thought I had simply imagined the sound, but alas, the same sound rang out. The sound of a heavy boot hitting the floor of the unlit bathroom. It started from the very back of the bathroom, and every 2 seconds that passed, another low but loud thud echoed from the bathroom. Oddly enough, all the other lights were on, but a sense of dread filled me when I looked into the bathroom. I first thought that perhaps one of my siblings came down and was trying to scare me. However, I didn't see anyone come down the stairs. After 2 to 3 heavy footsteps came a different sound, a sound of someone breathing like they're gasping for air almost. Each footstep, along with this uncomfortable breathing, became louder as this noise got closer to the entrance of the bathroom. Feeling slightly panicked, I did what most people might consider stereotypical, and I called out, "Hello?" After that, the footsteps had reached the sink, with the gaspy breathing continuing. I audibly heard the sink turn on with the sound of someone washing their hands with soap and water. This feeling of dread got worse and worse by the minute, but I was young, fresh to the world, and had not yet understood the natural order of things, or perhaps the unnatural things. After 5 seconds of hearing it wash its hands, I once more called out, "Hello?" Without warning, the sink slammed shut and the footsteps began to make their approach to the door. With the sounds increasing in my head to the point where I was covering my ears with my hands, I grew terrified of what may be in the bathroom, so I ran up the stairs, not once daring to look in the bathroom door. While to my surprise, I came upon the room where everyone was prepping to go out, only to see everyone still there. That night I slept with as much light as I could and told no one about it for a while. I'd like to say that it was nothing, but that event has remained a prominent experience in my life. I don't expect people to believe me, nor am I looking to make anyone believe. However, it was more or less a you had to be there kind of thing to understand it. I hope you got some sort of entertainment out of my little story, even if it may have plenty of typos, because I'm by no means a writer. Stay safe, everyone. This last story comes from user Pazu is the Man. A guy asked us for help in the mountains. I'm from Japan, and I have had several paranormal or inexplicable experiences throughout my life, although I'm still a skeptic. I decided to share one of the stories with the hope of hearing from others about similar experiences. To this day, I still wonder if it was an actual human being or something else. When I was about 14, my family and I went to a rural place in a prefecture called Nagano on a trip. We had to drive through the mountains for a while. When we drove past a parking lot on the side of the mountain road, I heard a man's voice saying, "Excuse me." The voice sounded sort of devoid of energy or soulless, yet it was so clear. It sounded so lifeless that I got the impression that he was injured and asking for help, but at the same time it sounded like my brain had tricked my ears, so I ignored it. In Japan we call it sky ear when you hear things that aren't there. So about 5 seconds after hearing the voice, I told my family, "I just heard sky ear." My brother said, "Me too." My father, who was driving, looked back and said, "Someone said, 'Excuse me,' right?" My brother then responded, "I heard 'help me.'" My father took a U-turn and drove back. He parked on the side of the parking lot, got out with my brother and started looking for a person. There were a few cars parked, so they were even looking under those cars. My mother, who was sitting behind me, was confused because she had not heard the voice at all. At this point, we didn't even think it was anything paranormal. We were concerned that there may have been someone injured or dying. But while waiting in the car, both my mother and I suddenly started feeling spooked out. My mother was especially freaking out, saying, "I'm feeling really scared all of a sudden." My father and brother then came back into the car, looking confused. My father kept saying that it was surreal, because they went to see if there was anywhere the person could have gone to, but there was no path behind the parking lot. It was sort of a steep cliff, and there was no soul in any of the cars or down the cliff. I still remember what the voice sounded like. It was an adult male voice, and it sounded so flat and monotonous that you would think whoever said it wasn't quite alive. And that's all the stories I have for today. If you like this video, feel free to leave a like and subscribe so you know when I post next. Put your paranormal stories in the comments and I'll possibly read them in a video. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.